we are going to be talking about some of the biggest money hurdles when you make the declaration, when you make the decision that I am going to be better with money. So everyone starts off the new year with their new financial goals, new year, new me. Everybody's excited, pumped up, motivated, ready to attack the new year. And we have all of these things that we want to accomplish. And when it comes to our finances, some of us might be, I want to get out of debt. I want to save more money. I want to invest. I want to do X, Y, and Z thing moving into the future. The thing is, there are certain hurdles, challenges that you will face once you make this decision. And in this video, I want to talk about those hurdles. But before that, I have a little story that I want to share with everybody. It's about two different dudes who were trying to go for the South Pole. One guy decided, I need to take all the preparations and precautions to make sure that my crew is safe, I'm safe when we make this trip down to the South Pole. These were like some of the first people to ever try to make this adventure or make this voyage down to the South Pole. You had one guy, his name was Robert Scott. The other guy's name was Roald Amundsen. Amundsen prepared very much so. He took everything into account. He took the fact that his fuel for making fires to be able to make the food for his crew would run out. So he brought even more. He brought more food than necessary just to make sure they didn't run out. He accounted for areas of possible failure. There's much more that he did for his crewmen to ensure that they were accounting for all the areas of possible failure points. He thought about what is it that possibly I can fail at to not just not reach my goal, but even worse, to fall off completely. On the other hand, Robert Scott didn't take a lot of these things into consideration. He just brought okay amounts of food, didn't really think about, the fuel might leak. Even though that was something that was known, he didn't really put that into perspective. He didn't think about the amount of food that his crew is going to need as things get hotter and hotter out in the field. And so a lot of failure points, he was just falling into those failure points over and over and over again. And in the end, Scott's team, although they made it to the South Pole, they made it there 33 days late. And also, everybody on that crew died. Every single person, himself included. The only way that we know a lot of things about his crew and the people that went on this is from their journals, from their diaries, and the fact that a search and rescue team went out there later on. And because it was so cold, their bodies were so well preserved that we can tell that, one, a lot of there was no meat on their bones. Like they had lost a lot of weight. They were shedding muscle. They were just not in good shape. So what does this story teach us? One of the reasons that we tend to fail a lot when it comes to any goal that we have for ourselves is that we never imagine possible ways that we can fail at this. We never imagine possible ways that things do not go to plan. Usually, whenever we're planning something, we think in the most optimistic set. We always think like, if I do X, Y, and Z, things will just work out always, and I'll be able to reach my destination perfectly. That's what we think. We always think so optimistically that things will just work because I did X, I did Y, I did W, then I should be able to get to Z. This is how we think. But life is anything but predictable. Life is anything but direct. Usually what happens is you start at X. For some reason, you got to go back to A and then make your way back to A, B, C. And then all of a sudden you jump to T, and then you can maybe go to U, but before you can get to V, you go back to O, and then you do O, P, Q, because life is not predictable. If there's one thing that we can expect for life is for life to be unexpected, for things not to go to plan. We live in a world of entropy, which just means chaos. We live in a very chaotic world. And if we don't think about the possible ways that we can fail at our goals, we will never be able to accomplish them. Ask yourself this question. How many times have you started to do something? You said to yourself, I am going to accomplish this thing. But then for some reason, a barrier shows up. You run into that barrier and it knocks you completely on your face. An unexpected barrier shows up, but because you weren't prepared for that barrier, nobody's mentioned that barrier to you, you don't have the mental capacity to adjust to that barrier. And guess what? You just completely fall off. You just say, you know what? I tried. The world just doesn't want me to do this. If you're a Christian, for some of our Christians, they'll be like, oh, the enemy is just attacking me. It's like, no. Failure is part of life. Failure is what builds us up. And we'll talk about that later. But the point is there are certain hurdles that you will definitely run into when it comes to your finances, when it comes to you trying to handle your finances better. And in this video and in this podcast, we're going to talk about 5 of the most common ones that I've noticed that has caused people to fall off the wagon, that has caused people to fall away from being able to accomplish the financial goals that they want for themselves.